When I left the theatre watching Zoya Akhtar's Zindagi Milegi Dobara, this was the only scene that stayed in my mind. I think it is the best scene from a movie that fluctuates between the moments of evocative brilliance and the moment of awkward cringe. It's a scene where Imran speaks with his biological father Salman for the first time to understand why he never tried to meet his son. Salman confesses that he was never ready to take the responsibility of the entire situation then or even now, and not meeting him ever, he thought was the best thing for both of them. So why did only this scene stay with me? To answer this question, we have to separate the scene's text from its subtext. Text means the sensory surface of a work of art. In terms of films, it is the images on screen and the sound of dialogue, music, or sound effects. It is what we see and what we hear. Subtext is the life under that surface, thoughts and feelings both known and unknown, hidden by behavior. Unfortunately, most of popular Hindi cinema is plagued with narrative spoon-feeding. Character motivations are expressed through blatant on-the-nose dialogues instead of letting the audience decipher them. Sadness of a character has to be accompanied with heavy-handed sad background music. How about some tragic music for the dying? Because apparently, Indian audiences are not intelligent enough to understand and feel the emotions unless they are forced on them. Adding subtext to a scene adds a level of intrigue in the audience. This leads to audiences' greater investment in both the story and the character, resulting in a scene with greater depth and richer emotions. Look at this scene from Casablanca. The entire conversation between Rick and Elsa is filled with subtext at every exchange of beat. On the surface, the scene ends with Elsa devastating Rick's ego by revealing that the romance between them in Paris was never real. The subtext reveals how Elsa wanted Rick to be a little kinder and understanding so that she could explain him everything. Another scene with the couple verging on a fight is from Annie Hall.
You're what Grammy Hall would call a real Jew.
Thank you.
But for the comedic effect, Woody Allen put the subtext as subtitles, revealing characters' thoughts underneath all those dialogues.
Well, I would like to take a serious photography course.
Photography is interesting because, you know, it's a new art form and a set of aesthetic criteria have not emerged yet.
Sometimes, a single line of dialogue holds a deeper meaning to provide the scene a strong conclusion. Notice how Siddharth expresses his sacrifice to keep his mother's heart by saying,
सोचना कुछ दिनों के लिए बड़े मामू के फार्म हाउस पे जाके रहूं। अच्छी जगह है पेंटिंग करने के लिए। अब चलेंगी मेरे साथ?
Don Corleone makes the impending threat even more menacing with this line.
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Similarly, instead of calling Catherine a whore for leaving him for another man, Howard shouts,
"You are a movie star, nothing more."
Sometimes you don't even need dialogues. A few exchanges of stealing glances and a romantic song playing on a gramophone are enough to tell us what's going on. Or a flying balloon can express the affirmation of love. One of the main reasons for directors to employ subtext was to get around censorship laws. And most often than not, it has to do with the portrayal of sex. Over the years, portraying erotic moments with subtext became an art in itself. Here is Roman Polanski using blocking to express the undertone of seduction.
Does this often happen to you?
What's that?
Well, I'm judging only on the basis of one afternoon and an evening, but if this is how you go about your work, I'd say you'd be lucky to get through a whole day.
Arthur Penn using editing to express the same. A wife's desperation to save her marriage is uttered in the form of this dialogue. Handling these moments can be tricky. Do it wrong and they can feel pretty crass. A vulgar joke designed only to create a momentary chuckle. But do it right and the moment can have great implications throughout the story arc. And the gay subtext is everywhere. But the scenes with subtext become really great when the subtext extends to the entire length of the film or the character arc. One such scene is from Martin Scorsese's unrecognized classic, The Aviator. When the dejected Howard Hughes ends up locking himself away from the world, he sees Catherine as the only person to save him from the impending obscurity and loneliness. But he is too proud to plead. So instead of asking her whether she'll get back with him, he asks,
You love him.
and Catherine rejects him by saying,
He's everything I have.
This response leaves him heartbroken. The devastation of rejection is expressed through sound design.
Howard?
And a cut to show how vulnerable he really has become.
Go away now, would you do that?
All of a sudden, we want Howard to win over every obstacle.
Go away.
Another scene is from Alexander Payne's Sideways. As Miles describes why he is so much into Pinot, we realize that he has unconsciously identified with the characteristic of the grape variety.
No, Pinot needs constant care and attention. And in fact, it can only grow in these really specific little tucked away corners of the world.
While he may not be aware of how much he is revealing about himself, both Maya and we understand that, and we learn why he struggles with relationships so much. One of the best use of subtext in recent times can be seen in Stephen McQueen's Shame, and the subtext is the possibility of incest between brother and sister.
This isn't working out, obviously.
The reason I said possibility is because McQueen never makes the subtext hold a solid ground. Instead, it is based on audience's subjective inference. You can either infer the possibility of past incestuous encounters or Brandon fighting his urge to have one now.
I make you angry all the time, and I don't know why.
So all of this brings us back to this scene. The reason this scene is great is because its subtext extends throughout the character arc of Imran. We understand how much this entire journey to meet his father means to him, but to his father, it means absolutely nothing. Imran learns his existence holds no value to his father. The answer to the question he had asked his mother for why his father never tried to meet him was that he just didn't care. This heartbreak makes him truly realize how big of an asshole he had been to Arjun and solidifies his relationship with his mother. His entire character arc reaches a closure with this one scene, a truly great scene that reveals the great complexity of the character. I wish the other two characters also had a similar depth. If we think about our movie watching experiences, we can realize we have witnessed this phenomena of subtext all our lives. We never sit in that dark hall with passive reactions. Instead, we constantly try to read the character's mind and feelings. Sometimes, we know the characters more than the characters know themselves. But in reality, we struggle to look beyond the surface level. Consumed in our own lives, we hardly see the torrent of emotions in people we happily spend so much time with. And that's why we need storytellers. Because they are the ones who take us beyond the obvious. They are the ones who help us look through what is not seen and to the heart of what is not felt, so that we can savor those precious little moments that are left unsaid.